Greetings, fellow friends, Starseeds, Jedis, Jedi Masters, and Padawans in the place to be. I will give you the most unusual Star Wars decoding set yet, while everybody dwells on, how would you put it, conspiracy theories and why Kylo Ren is Nero and the Antichrist because he has the cross in reverse. That's all nice. But what does that say about us, pardon me, and our cosmic history, and why we are telling ourselves our own storyline over and over, which is called radiogenesis. So, please, fans, new people, subscribe if you like what I have to say and if that has a resonance. But I also want you to do your homework when you get into these topics. First of all, don't think that it's a coincidence that J.J. Abrams is the one that in the past the Star Trek movies, and is now also creating the new continuation of the Star Wars legacy. Star Wars, Star Trek is based on the Orion conflict. The Orion conflict is real simple. If you look at our galaxy and you see the spiral of the galaxy and all of these arms that come off the spiraling picture of the galaxy, Google NASA, check the picture. There's one arm that is fractured. Well, there's a reason why that is. There's no coincidence that all galaxies are in harmony and are in order, and there's one arm that got fractured. But guess what? That's the fractured piece of our consciousness. That's part of the storyline of what Star Wars explains. So let explain to you what the Force Awakening means to me, and I'm doing this by intuition. There are no books on this. There's no scientific proof. I'm not in a scientific review, not yet at least. But I think it makes a lot of sense when I explain to you how these pieces fit together. Star Wars has to do with interplanetary war. That also has to do with, how can I put it, the fall of the angels. And for that, you have to understand also, what does that mean, the Clone Wars. Also, why is it that lately we have a phase that people find lookalikes all across the planet that look like them? And some of them even find genetic matches, even though they have different fathers. Peculiar. Why is it that in one of the books, like the Quran, it says that you have 7 beings on Earth that look like you? Why is it that if you recap the X-Files, they find clones that are actually extraterrestrial hybrids designed to help us in this ascension process? The cloning and the hybridization of the human race. The story is deep. So let me go back to Star Wars so I don't lose you in these weird and wacky concepts of parallels and things that take place. You go back in the ancient times, and for that you have to study the Terra papers. Watch the video, read the papers. In the ancient times, before the angels fell, they were the Ophanim. Okay, that's as a perception of a level of high consciousness as far back as we can go. Then there were the Seraphim, powerful beings in humanoid form, higher dimensional aspects, the Force. Here we call it Chi. The Force in us is very, very, you can say, diminished. The things that would actually activate the Force in you are the piezoelectric substances of your crystalline structure in your body. And when Anakin was little and Qui-Gon Jinn was reading, Anakin's midi-chlorides are actually mitochondria. Okay, midi-chlorides, mitochondria, same thing. They just changed the name, it's the same storyline. Understand, radiogenesis means we keep telling ourselves the same story over and over and over. So, Star Wars is channeled. Star Trek is channeled. For that, read Phyllis V. Schlemmer, The Only Planet of Choice. Gene Roddenberry channeled basically the infrastructure from outer space while Earth is under quarantine. and people think it's just a movie script compiled and put together. Not really. We can only channel by creation, from the source, our own storyline. It's called Radiogenesis. You want to read the Arcturus probe and the books Voyager 1 and 2. That explains how we fell, how we ended up on Earth, how we ended up on this planet, which is actually actual fact. Once you get total recall or your memory, they call it Akasha, you can tap into that, you will memorize that. Dolores Cannon had many clients that over 300 cases in regressive hypnotherapy, they all have off-planetary storylines. So let me cap this make it as compact and short and simple so you can investigate. So Star Wars is based on the Orion conflict. There is the Council of the Jedi. See, I represent the Arcturian Council. Same thing. There are many, many councils, many, many races. All of these races are here. You are not from Earth. If you fly in your dreams, you just remember your other planetary existence. So you have Yoda, which is from the Elven race. He's an elemental, represents the heart. He's green. The heart is green, as in the chakra is green. So is Spock in Star Trek with the elven ears. If you go back in ancient times, the jinns or the higher lords or the higher beings from other realms, elementals, have pointed ears. It's nothing new. We're not introducing any new concepts here. George Lucas, when he was young, what did he watch? Pirate movies with ships, with ropes swinging, swords fighting. See the analogy? He watched Flash Gordon. You know, Flash Gordon was a sci-fi movie from 1931. So I say when our memory is normal, we watch pirate movies and we do pirate flicks. But once we allow ourselves to tap deeper into memory, why is it that it goes out of space? Timothy Leary said that our DNA has a subconstruct programming of the DNA that says at some point we will go interstellar because we used to be interstellar. That used to be a normal thing, like jumping from here to Tatooine, these places, like the Aldebaran system or Dagobah system. Why is it that NASA mapped these systems and these systems really exist there on the map? There's a planet that's called Vulcan. Isn't that interesting? So did NASA name that after Star Trek, or was that named before the series? You have to do your own investigation. So, who are the Jedi? Jedi or Jediah and many things you can also call Jedi. DHJ. EDI is the pillar, is the consciousness, the backbone of Osiris. It's called the Jed. So your I, Jedi, is as having the Osirian consciousness. Also the Orion-Syrian Wars. They are channeling. So the Jedi are actually Ophanim, and some of them are Seraphim. Many, many races. From here we call them angelic. That has to do with the state of evolution that they're in. The Jedis that crossed are fallen Seraphim. Back then, according to Dan Winter, there were 10% of Seraphim that fell. These were the ones that caused the war, the creation of the Anunnaki. There was another race. What were they called? The Nephilim. The Nephilim was part of the fall already of fallen DNA. Fallen DNA meaning that they went out of phase, of the angelic phase. So you have the Jedi on this side, but defenders and protectors of the light. The many orders and the different lightsabers and the colors also represent consciousness. The red lightsaber is reptilian, but it's also a root chakra. It's based on survival. It is based on anger. It's based on inner strength. It is based on manipulation, deceit, and cover-ups and masks. See the follow-up of the grandson of Vader. He uses the mask and tries to replicate where the grandfather failed. The dark side, survival, root chakra based, is the old paradigm that is crumbling. It's basically resisting what's actually happening. Is as Kylo Ren steps in front of Snoke and says, there's been an awakening. Yes, the awakening has to do with our ascension in 2012. So the movies and actually the perfect timeline is the awakening takes place as the feminine aspect is being reintegrated. Females are integrating, interestingly, their masculine aspect, their warrior side. They're stepping up, they're speaking and finding their truth in bringing the greater intuition and vision in. Hence, let's assume Luke's daughter is the one that awakens. She's the feminine aspect. She holds the sword. So does Fen, who used to be a program in the Matrix that wakes up to the fact that, what I'm doing is not right. It gives me it makes me feel not good. So waking up to that aspect, he is the male. He has to learn to not integrate the female aspect, the feminine aspect, as he has to learn to feel. He's beginning to feel. That is the feminine aspect integration in the male body. Then, that's why he also touches the blue sword is also activation of the third eye. What am I doing? What's my consciousness? Where am I? How do I relate the world, my inner and outer? How do I get into feeling? That's why also Finn, in the beginning, says this is his own fight and he wants to walk away. He has to learn there's no walking away from feeling what must be done. The girl, Ray, the ray, the beam, the light, the female, the sword is calling you, and an ancient one, the being with the glasses, I forgot her name, is basically pointing towards the saying it's calling out to you, and she realizes she has a mission. So now, basically you can say chicks become dudes, dudes become chicks. That's why right now the sexual energy gets more into the girls. They're taking more control as they integrate their masculine aspect and they are on their way to their mission. Well, if you watch the Clone Wars, the animation where Yoda goes to the planet of the Sith and challenges, you actually see the original microbial construct of the Sith, in my opinion, where Yoda sits in the center and meditates. And if you haven't seen it, I suggest watch the entire show. It's really, I love it. The analogy in there, this is mind-blowing. It's channeled. This is not a mere movie script to me. This is like blatantly in your face. So Yoda sits in the center. These worms come around, these little squiggly worms, bacteria. These worms gather around him. They can't touch him. So they form this gigantic worm, and the worm looks at Yoda, and Yoda looks at the being and says, "Who are you?" And the collective of the worm says, "We are Sith." So you have to understand that the Sith are, you can say, viral bacteria from the nanobase on up, a viral survival reptilian bred being that is actually goes back to a draconian origin. So the Jedi are the Ophanim and Seraphim, and the Sith are the Draconians. So that's the ancient war between Ophanim and Draconian that was set off in this galaxy to understand where the balance is, what the Force is. The Force is very real. If you want to check kids with supernatural abilities, get a book. It's very expensive and rare to find, called China's Super Psychics, where kids actually really move objects, and it's not a circus act. It's a skill where the military is baffled, and those that test these kids in China are stunned of how they can read papers blindfolded, how they have entire classes sitting in front of them and they put up symbols and all the kids put up the same symbol that the guy sees. So the psychic ability is taking place. It's no more guesswork, it's actual fact. So, and how we blew up planets. That's nothing new. That Killer Base and that Operation Death Star, you want to read a book on that, where this comes from Sumerian tablets, a guy named Anton Park's channel. It's called The Secret of Dark Stars. You read that book, it'll blow your lid off. These are ancient tablets that are over 6,000 years old that have parallels of what's going on in Star Wars. How this ended up in Star Wars, maybe it was intuitively put there, or George Lucas really read Sumerian tablets and took the story as an analogy and mixed that, like piracy, outer space, this and that. I'm saying this is 100% channeled, whether it's intuitive, unconscious, or conscious. The numbers, the signs, the messages are intriguingly in your face, and it's deeper than the number of the beast or Nero returning in the form of Kylo Ren or being the Antichrist by having the reverse cross in red. It's deeper than the earthly or planetary templates. If you go outer-planetary, interplanetary, interdimensional, the story is far more reaching, Why is they sold the most tickets in history, pre-sales, than any other movies? Why is it that it's so appealing to the masses? Because someone in you, and I'm talking to the fans also that dress up. See, like me, I got the X-Wing fighter outfit, the gloves, I got the little helmet look here. So I got the glasses somewhat, and doing my best as a Starseed ambassador to wake you up to the fact that you are called in by a storyline that is so far, far away in another place, in another galaxy, that shows you where you fell from in consciousness, where you came from, and it's here to remind you your storyline and where the plot goes. And I find that plot very, very intriguing, and I love the cliffhanger in the end when the girl goes to, I think, her father and holds the sword and wants to reactivate the old consciousness, and this time it's the daughter-father relation that's being fixed, and let's go back to what's being fixed here. Goes deeper. You say the Father, the Mother, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I'm saying, is that what they made the Holy Spirit is? Why not make this 4 complete? You know, they say all good things are 3. Well, what I'm saying is if you do magic spells or anything that you do, all good things are 4, comes in 4. Evenly, a cipher is divided by 4, not by 3. Holy Trinity to me is incomplete. And I give you the reason why. They forget the daughter feminine aspect, which this movie is bringing back. The Father, the Mother, the Son, and the daughter. Now it's the girl being activated, her third eye is being turned on. She's stepping into her power. Also, when you see the scene, how she's being released and learns within seconds to manipulate the stormtrooper, is she inherits the power much quicker than the male had to attain that. As you would see like how Luke had complications with his training. Anakin Skywalker was too old to begin Jedi training. All these complications that males had because they were already so manipulated by the outer influences in the plot. You know, and take it with a grain of salt, you know, take it also a little bit as entertainment. This is for those who are in resonance with what I'm saying. For those who think that's completely making no sense what I'm saying, it's not for you, it's okay. Like if you don't like Chinese, you don't have to eat at the Chinese restaurant. If you don't like Indian, you don't have to eat at the Indian restaurant. All I'm saying is please don't burn down the Indian restaurant or the Chinese restaurant. That would kill the variety and the options that people have to attain knowledge of things that actually are of interest. Those who never had any relations with outer space and star, I suggest watch that movie and feel the energies of the characters being introduced. Also the character which I love as my favorite droid is BB-8. 8 is the infinity. B to me is number 2, so it's also the 22 in there, which is a master number. BB-8 is to me an animated emoticon as an interpretation of your consciousness of a being that shows you where it's danger, curiosity, and is also a guide. So let's say we manifested a spirit guide into physical form to be in the framework with the characters, who has a key to a map, which is completing a puzzle to finding something that needs to be reactivated, finding someone he can trust in the desert. The girl that is actually stepping back into her godhood, her priesthood, and this is actually what's happening to this planet right now. She's been waiting and waiting, and it's all of us like that too. We've been in wait, and now it's time to activate. The journey begins, the mission begins. Also, what's famous in the plot, which we will see over and over and over again, is the journey of the hero. Now this time much faster. You know, yes, there's loss, as unfortunately what it looks like, we lose Han Solo, who tries to get his son back, original name Ben, and tries to appeal to the angelic part of the son, but the draconian part obviously was stronger, and he has to, so he thinks, overcome the father to be like the old image of the dark grandfather, which to me has no future anyway. In all the commercials we see, pick your side, choose the dark side or the light side. All the gamers that pick light or dark, guess what? Souls that came here that picked the dark path, they playing the same game on an interdimensional level, just without the consciousness of where does that lead, what does that give to you to be an emperor, to be the dark side, and how long you want to play this game of duality, which is blatantly in your face. You have the root chakra, the red. You have you can say the indigo beam, which is I'll almost mix it, the bridge from third eye to crown chakra, and we were split in the middle. Duality has split us. Under the heart is the split, so you have the red and the blue, or the indigo blue, which needs to be fused again. It needs to be put together. So all of these superhero movies that you see coming out now, they're all going epic storyline. It's all one and the same big storyline that wants you to awaken. And when it says the force awakens, that means actually the memory banks within your cell structure, which we call radiogenesis, is being awakened through these movies. And I hope I have covered roughly all of these things that might be of interest for you. Go see the movie if you haven't seen the movie. And it's pretty amazing, the character play, the energies, Leia Organa as in the old priesthood, the old motherhood, being a character in there, also reminding us that there are certain systems that were carried out from the old paradigm into the new, but the resistance continues. You know, my name Ra, what does Ra stand for? I can play with that. Rebel Alliance, I can do that all day. Actually, Ra for me is Rainbow Ascension, a colorful way of ascending and transcending the old ways of the paradigm. And hope you had fun watching this video. I didn't use symbols or upload any images because you have your own mind to psychically remember what you have seen in the movie. And I gave you enough homework. Remember the books that I mentioned. The Secret of Dark Stars by Anton Parks. Amazing. Breaks actually the storyline down from ancient tablets that are similar to DC Operation Dark Star or Death Star. Same thing. And to wrap it up, the Clone Wars, you know, an army being bred to actually feed private wars among factions using deceit. Well, guess what? We have been cloned in the ancient times. You check Michael Tellinger, Anunnaki's clone base. The Anunnakian chambers were found actually in Africa, where the tablets talk about that the human race has been cloned as a slave race to lead wars, to mine, to gather minerals, and to build power and dominion, until the old draconian empire had to actually ease back, you know, in disguise, and leave the planet and leave the remnants and those who inherited whatever was left of that power structure here, and that is actually crumbling. It's falling apart. The light side is winning by far. As you can see, how the killer base planet was taken apart, and that's the structure of the darkness. Is pretty weak. You hit one spot and then the internal thing combusts. That is everything that is not based on integrity or love or creational aspect will actually disintegrate and go back to source, remodeled, and new units will be formed of consciousness, so the storyline can be learned. Some beings will probably go out in a bang because they refuse to learn in the ascension process there's no cheating, you can't go around. And others will ascend within the flesh and understand what it means to become interstellar, hence leading to villages that would look like Tatooine, which is a dream of mine to rebuild such a structure. Landing platforms like a starport haven where scout ships can land and interdimensional contact can commence, and it will become our daily life. For those who don't know that, you can say ETs or extraterrestrial brothers and sisters lived among us in ancient times. Look in the ancient paintings, look also at the ancient artifacts that have been released from Mexico, where you see sculptures that look like not humans. They are tall, they're sitting in craft, they wear helmets. I mean, it's tons of these artifacts are being released. I held them in my hand from a collector. I've seen it firsthand. It is in our face. If we don't understand that we're not alone in the universe and Earth is under quarantine, then we are very much asleep. Spiritual, be who you are. Don't lie to yourself. Understand who you are. Over and inner and outer stand more aspects of the existence of what that is that makes you. Get more into conscious dreaming. Allow yourself to do crazy things and crazy art and crazy creation, and allow people to be with everything there is. When you hate, you're only hating yourself. When somebody projects negative thought patterns to something that wants to be creative and expands, their DNA shrivels and their aging process is accelerated. Actual fact. So click like, do yourself a favor, stay in the light, be positive, choose wisely, my friend, like Yoda said. The Force is strong in you, and everybody has the capacity to be a Jedi. So from Padawan to Grandmaster level, we're all here, we're all in this together, we're all on Earth, and we all, as you see what is happening on all around the planet, have to work together. It doesn't matter what belief system there is. There only is one color, and that is red, and that's your blood. We all breathe one air, and that's one planet, and you have one suit for this existence. Don't waste your time. Be wakeful, my Jedis. Respect, and as usual, those who know me, I'm Arcturus Ra. See you on the flip side. You want me to leave? Namaste. And yeah, my party people, before I forget to wrap it up into a template and how it's staged when this soldier speaks. It's a remnant of World War II with the troops. Stormtrooper is to me a derivative of the German Sturmtruppen, which means the same thing. In Sturmtruppen was in Zweiter Weltkrieg, World War II, the terminology for those who are in the field. The cloning is what's an ongoing and ancient story on this planet Earth. Then you can say the resistance are the liberals or the Democrats, if you want to. And take this all with a grain of salt. This is just to see where it echoes. And then you have the Rebel Alliance. And then you have the, you could say, elite forces and elements battling each other. And what I did want to mention is when you see the fight between Rey and Kylo Ren in the woods represent the underworld or the subconscious. That is where our fight as the Force Awakens takes place one more time. So whether it's on the cell structure or in physical form, you see the female that has greater power than Kylo Ren, because female intuition is kick-ass. There's no discussion. There's more synaptic functioning and connection than a man can ever develop. That's scientifically proven. And I'm not saying that to cater to women. It's just scientific fact. And now this feminine guide is coming back to kick the old paradigm's ass. And interestingly, it's not directly killing it. It's just showing boundaries and bringing the priestess, the goddess, the warriors, the Amazon, the Valkyr, the female godhood back. And as it takes place in the woods, as the old system in the subconscious crumbles, you see how she beats Kylo Ren. He falls over, he loses his sword, so this paradigm gets smashed. And then you see where the split is taking place. In the earth cracks and there's a split. And you can say within the subconsciousness, a split takes place and a new consciousness is being formed as the journey of the hero begins. And it's quite evident where you can see Blue, the third eye, against the root chakra, basic survival, and how it clashes. And how the female warrior has assistance from a male warrior that is integrating the feminine aspect within himself. So both had the sword. It is yet to be revealed if the male assistance also has force energy. The girl has it, that she's related to Luke is pretty clear. And that concludes basically the analogy of Star Wars, which are our own wars, planetary systems. I believe in the past we blew up. We were caught up in crazy wars, to the point where the human race is born in amnesia and we've forgotten who we are. And these storylines are retold to help us remember what was. Darkness, void of knowledge, void of conscious. The light is knowing the ledge, being the wisdom, embodying the truth, and the knowingness and beingness in truth, in transparency, in a divine order. So again, Ophanim, Seraphim, Jedi, Draconians, Sith, and many, many races involved in that stuff. And that story repeats over and over. And I said before, radiogenesis, and if you have a question what radiogenesis is, let's say there was an intergalactic war 300,000 years ago. We can go further back. I'm going to just go to the antediluvian wars. And you have people basically getting at each other. You heard about the war of the angels with swords and blades getting at each other. The fiery swords of the angels, the lightsaber, fiery swords. It all comes back, and then we fall, we die, and we reincarnate without the knowledge of we have fought each other. We are coming back to this planet with a different storyline, and we only carry the cell memory of that war, and that is called radiogenesis. So let's go over thousands of incarnations, thousands of years, the fall of the planets. Let's say Mars was colonized, all of these planets had life, and it all went to smithereens, and we carry the cell memory from that time. So we can only be drawn to what helps us remember in a different contextual image of what the storyline was. That's why certain movies have certain attraction. That's scientific fact. That's not even a myth. Stuff that turns the myth into legend is storylines that have been forgotten. You can go back, same thing with Lord of the Rings. All of this stuff took place on Earth. The story runs deep with fairy beings, intergalactical, interdimensional beings, and much, much more. There's so much to discover that we don't know, that we have yet to learn, that took place on Earth. I've seen a black and white documentary where in an Asian country at a parade around the 1900s, they showed a guy that looked kind of like a sumo wrestler, but the guy was 15 foot tall. How in the hell, how is that even possible? And they looped that. I think they're reposting that on Facebook right now. That guy is like, I don't know, 3 times the size and width of me, and then 15 foot high, muscle packed, and walks with the army, with an Asian army, and he waves to the people. He has the sumo belt on. It's around the 1900s. I'm like, I've never seen a being that big in human form. So apparently, giants have the capacity of being like in human form. Just that on a side note. So investigate, explore, put together. Don't believe anything I say. You do your own readings, do your own research, put pieces together. I loved Star Wars. Excellent movie. Excellent dynamics within the characters. I know people want to bitch and bicker. You know what? I'm not complaining. You're not J.J. Abrams. You're not putting that together. You're not over there in Tunisia or in Ireland busting your ass, putting things together. Paradigms changing, paradigms shift. Live to create. This is one planet. You have one skin in this lifetime. Use it. Don't abuse it. See you most definitely on the flip side.